Why are you opposed to Amazon opening a headquarters in New York City?
Because Amazon has demonstrated time and time again that they are antithetical to our New York City values. They remarkably came to the City Council last week and declared not only would they not remain neutral when it came to efforts of their employees to organize, but that they would actually fight to crush any effort of their employees to unionize. This is a union town. I grew up in a union family. We've got to stand up for our values there. As you know, Amazon is not really clear about whether or not they're working with ICE and selling facial recognition technology to ICE. Obviously, we're a sanctuary city. The mayor and all of us have declared that we want to be a safe haven for all immigrants, including the undocumented. Amazon refuses to budge on that issue. The problem with how this was rolled out by the governor and the mayor, those are well documented. Obviously, the $3 billion plus surplus package to the wealthiest man in the world with $1 trillion company is obscene. All of those reasons and more lead us to fight this deal because at the end of the day, it's a bad deal for New York.
You know, there are many New Yorkers who would say, I believe, that while you're fighting on behalf of some of your constituents for what you just discussed, that you're turning away the prospect of enormous economic activity and the tax revenues that will come along with it for a city that desperately needs to continue to increase its budget to deliver services to your constituents that they rely on. How do you justify saying no to 25,000 jobs or more to the most important, potentially, technology company in the country on behalf of New York City residents to say, hey, we need this, otherwise the budget may have to go down and services I want may actually disappear?
Well, I would say this. We're not against jobs. No one's against jobs. I'm not against jobs. But the question is it jobs at any cost and at all cost? The truth is that we don't need to engage in these kind of pyramid schemes and competitions. We don't need to throw $3 billion at Amazon. I believe they wanted to come here all along. And I also believe that this city has thrived for a very long time and will continue to thrive. But we have to stand up for our values.
But it was a national competition that New York City entered into,
right,
willingly. The governor and the mayor obviously support this. The $3 billion in incentives will be taken off largely from the tax revenues that are paid by Amazon. Again, I still have a hard time understanding your opposition to their anti-union point of view, perhaps. I still don't understand why you would say no. And by the way, you say, well, you're still in favor of jobs, but isn't this holding out a big sign to the rest of corporate America saying, we don't want you here?
I don't think so. I think New York City is going to be a place where people continue to invest and grow. But the question is...
Why do you think that?
Because it's the greatest city in the world with the greatest talent pool
but it only
in the world.
Only if you're pro-union and only if you are... I don't know, not doing facial recognition or not selling things that we don't want. I mean, how many different things are on a checklist here that corporations have to tick off?
There's a lot of things on this checklist that are wrong for me as a progressive Democrat. And I believe that if you're a progressive in this city, then you shouldn't be in favor of this company, not just saying they won't remain neutral, but they'll actually crush the efforts of their workers to unionize. There are significant worker-related issues at Amazon. We would be doing a disservice to our constituents and to the workers of Amazon by not raising these issues. We have to ask the tough questions of Amazon and of the governor and the mayor and of this deal. And I would also say to you, the $3 billion that you're saying would come off the $27 billion or roughly that they claim it would generate is still unnecessary. You could actually have the jobs and have that without giving them $3 billion. I would also add this, just one more thing. The truth is that Amazon not only doesn't need that aid, but we should be talking about what the cost of Amazon is to the city. They're going to bring tax revenue, but they're also going to bring expenses that have not been talked about at this point, because with 25 to 40,000 new employees, maybe 100,000 people, are going to come increased need for transportation infrastructure, schools, libraries, parks, police, fire. None of that has been calculated. So you've got a situation where they're talking about what tax revenue would come in, right, but none of the expenses are being actually factored in.
That's a part of the growth of any city. And if you're in favor of growth, I mean, we have a $92 billion budget for fiscal year 20
in the city,
right? $63 billion of that comes from taxes. Most of it property taxes, actually, I think 29 billion, and then income taxes after that and sales taxes. How do you tell your constituents that, no, we don't need these jobs and we don't need those tax revenues and it's going to cost more anyway, when conceivably they're going to face a reduction in services as a result of a budget that can't actually increase?
Well, first of all, a lot of my constituents are telling me to continue to fight for the values that I'm fighting for. So while there are people who support Amazon in my district.
But Councilman, why not have them in and then have that? Why not? Do you almost have more leverage as a result of them being a member of the community as opposed to saying, no, we don't want you?
Well, I would argue that the leverage is right now. I mean, the problem with how this was handled by the mayor and the governor is that they were given a blank check and presented this deal as a fait accompli, which doesn't exactly encourage Amazon to change their ways or come to the table in any meaningful way. So this was botched by the mayor and the governor from day one.
Well, others might argue that if you really wanted to change their policies on ICE or anything else, that it'd be better to do it almost from within, where you could say to them, hey, you're a hometown company now. We have some ideas on how we might change your business practices.
I've said that to them. We've had
But first they got to come here.
No, I would argue that they should only be able to come here if they're going to have that meaningful discussion. Amazon, we asked them this question at the hearing last week, remarkably, when we said, will you at least remain neutral if your workers attempt to organize? We were stunned that Bill Heisman from Amazon says, no, we're not even going to remain neutral. We're going to fight our workers' efforts to unionize.
Were you prepared to support them up until that moment?
No, because there are a million problems with this deal that are inconsistent with our values.
Have you heard from any constituents who've seen their property values increase on the prospect that they would come?
Sure. But
and are they mad now that the market's going bidless?
Some of the folks who own property are very happy with the rise in property values since the Amazon announcement. But I would also say this to you. What the Amazon effect in Seattle with gentrification on steroids has also frightened more of my constituents who live in Astoria, Sunnyside, Long Island City, and the surrounding neighborhoods who are not property owners, but are renters. And they are very, very concerned that with an influx of 25,000 people making 150,000 or more, they're going to be priced out of their neighborhoods. Those are real concerns that I have to be responsive to.
It's just, the economic activity created by Amazon in this city will be very, very potentially large, and it will take place over time. You're obviously very pro-union. New York City, as you point out, is a union town. But a lot of unions will benefit from this too. I mean, people need more plumbers, and they need all sorts of different workers who are unionized. It would seem to me that, again, there is a benefit from that economic activity that you're saying no to.
Well, here, look, they made a deal with the building trades, the construction trades, and with 32BJ to contract out the cleaning and building service workers. That's something that I would be happy about, except for the fact that most of the unions are cut out, and no Amazon employees, direct Amazon employees, can be unionized. That's really a problem here. So they made those deals with temporary employees or contract employees, but it is Amazon's corporate culture. It is from Jeff Bezos on down, and Bill Heisman told us this at the council. No direct Amazon employees anywhere will be allowed to organize or form a union. Everybody should be concerned about that.